I didn't have a regular childhood, a lot of people would, In 16, I remember that clearly because that's when everything's changed for me. I was on the run, at the time I was 16 years old, and, actually I was in the run in Camden, New Jersey.
A manhunt is underway for this hour
in Camden, New Jersey.
Does anybody need, are you all set for canines? Every search team have a canine right now? So negative, they're going to sweep.
I had the whole police force looking for me, and at the time, that was a time that I was homeless because no one wanted me in that house because the police was, kicking that door. Being raised in prison from 16 to, past my 20s is, a lot of people can't tell you that experience, and being raised in, the inner city like Camden, New Jersey. Years old, I was being taught and stuff by, the Camden police and some other law enforcement agencies. But, when you come up in Camden, New Jersey back then, and shit, even up to now, any city that's similar to that, Chicago, LA, Richmond, you got a lot of cities that's like that, and a lot of us don't make it out,
Camden is one of the most dangerous cities in America, with a violent crime rate 5 times the national average. City officials count nearly 200 places where illegal drugs are sold in the open, and this year's homicide rate is headed for an all-time record. My first stop was a visit with the embattled residents of North Camden, who face a daily reality of drugs and violence that most Americans will never know.
To be at this point right here where I'm just, can share my story. And then being in prison, going through prison is a difference. You don't have, you can't dream. You can dream, but you can't, make your dreams come true because somebody telling you when to get up at times. When, you see people going from prison, being released and coming back, and you're looking at them like, damn, nigga, this your 3rd time. You don't want to be out here. Let me get a chance, So, 10 years ago, I couldn't see myself right here talking and explaining my story without no bars and without no guards around me. So, that is, something that, for me to think about right now that, God blessed me to be in this situation. Now, coming up, you get locked up, people go through juries, all the time, When I was young, coming up in Camden, you went to Lakeland, Jamesburg, so, you come up, but when you going somewhere, to another place, and you don't know too many people at the moment, you faced with, it's like a nightmare. It's like, you don't know what's going on. You know what can happen, but this is the possibilities. You never see the streets again. I think, 16, a lot of things just drastically changed for me. Like some people had, females had sweet 16. Some niggas had 16. When they get 16-year-olds, they go good. But me, at 16 years old, I was in the run. I was in running Camden, New Jersey, and I had, the whole police force. Like, I was sleeping in bandit cars, sleeping in bandit houses. People didn't let me live in that house. They didn't let me stay in that house. My boy, I remember one time his door got kicked in because the police was looking for me. And from that point, the word spread where no one wanted me to come in their house. But, other hand, I had, other people who let me in the house to protect me from, the police and the troubles that I was going through, with the police department or with the law enforcement. I got locked up, 16. I had it like I was on the run, so that's where my story began. being raised in prison, I was being raised in prison. It's kind of mixed emotions, you know, because being raised in prison was, at first, you know, I didn't know what was going on, you know what I mean? Was I scared? Nah, I was cautious, you know. I was more, you know, want to get everything over, if anything, you know. So, you know, it was kind of being like 16 in an adult environment all the way. You know, I went from detention home to being certified as an adult and adult jail all the way to prison to my release. The prison is like 97% negativity, and it's where all your gangsters, all the cold, stone cold, crookedest gangsters niggas is at, you know, and you right in this one spot, you know. So it's, to me, you know, coming up at an age, you know, coming up in the streets and maneuver, it made me feel like, you know, it's just a world inside of a world, but it's like the streets, you know. So I believe whatever energy you put out is gonna come back. If you're one of them snake niggas and you put out some snake niggas, the bullshit's gonna come get your ass. If you put out real stuff and real energy. So with me, I always been 100, even, you know, in any situation. So it kind of raised me to see, you know, at first I can admit that, you know, I was still doing bullshit, you know. You selling these cigarettes, you gambling, you doing things like that. But, you know, it raised me to be the person that I am now versus, you know what I mean, to the person I was before I went to prison. You know, and I took on it like a home, you know. I didn't have people sending me, you know what I mean, cards all the time, and, you know, you can get on the phone anytime you want. Like, no, I was like, you know, 300-400 miles away from home and locked up. So, you know, being raised in there, it was more like, you could say like a school, you know, like a confusion school, you know. And I lost a lot of people, you know, prior to me, you know, being released, you know, like my mom, my brother, you know, there's people I lost, you know, but, you know, I couldn't see life, you know, 10 years ago to say that, you know what I mean, how I see how it is to be today. How I see the world, you know, I see the devil a lot more clearer than I seen him when I was a kid. You know, everybody's evil. You know, everybody got evil shit into them. You know, everybody want to be gangsters. Somebody, you know, everybody want to be, you know, hard. So, you know, yeah, I see God more, or I believe in the positive energy that existed more than I did before. 10 years ago, how I see the world, I couldn't really see it. You know, I was incarcerated, you know, for a very long time. You know, I was raised in there. I was raised in prison. A lot of these people can't say they was raised in prison. You know, like, a lot of these niggas scared to go to prison. Like, you know, niggas are scared. They you know, they gangsters out here because they got guns, but we all got guns. You know, we all got knives. But when you in there, you gotta check that in there. You be with the real gangsters. You know, and this, you gotta use. You know what I mean? That's when you find out who's chumps, who's not, and who is a bigger person and who's not. You know, it's when your mind got, you know, your brain start thinking. So, you know, I couldn't see how it was. You know, I seen the transition of how the world was. You know, inside looking out. You know, you're seeing the magazines, you're seeing everything evolves, but your time is just you staying still. So, you know, being raised in prison from 16 to, you know what I mean, past my 20s is, you know, a lot of people can't tell you that experience, you know. And I never thought that I'd see prison after all the things that I did in life, you know. You know, like I said, you know, I came up from the city of Camden, New Jersey, you know what I mean. So, you know, it's kind of rough on your parents or your mother, so to say. You know, I never had a father, you know what I mean. And it was kind of rough, so I took a lot of challenges, you know, to prepare me, not knowing, unconsciously, but it was preparing me for what was to come in my past, in my future, in my future, like, you know, incarceration. And it was one of the most difficult times in my life, you know.
I was the child that was the future. Rest in peace to Whitney. Bobby, Christina, Auntie Kathy needed a kidney. Now, Lord, please be with me for all the evil I face. Hope the gun police found, don't come back trace. A lot of niggas is fake, you gotta watch them close. Even your day one niggas, you gotta watch them the most. It's the closest one to hit you, help carry your coffin. From Camden to VA, I seen it all too often.
You still have a few people that's in situations that you went through prison and got, you know, it made them turn around where they counteracted that negativity into something positive. So, you know, the question for me, I think it made me both. It made me good at some things, and it made me better at some things, and it made me worse at some things. You know?
If tomorrow I tell the press that like a gangbanger will get shot, or a truckload of soldiers will be blowing up, nobody panics, because it's all part of the plan. But when I say that one little old mare will die, well, then everyone loses their minds. Introduce a little anarchy. Upset the established order, and everything becomes chaos.